Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the NBA Front Office Show. Always tons to talk about in the world of the NBA. We're going to break everything down for you. I'm Trevor Lane. You can find me on Twitter at Trevor_Lane, joined by Keith Smith at Keith Smith NBA. Keith, I'm starting to get World Cup fever. Like I'm feeling it. It's like suddenly here we are, and the World Cup is starting up. We're days away. This is going to be a lot of fun. I'm so excited for the World Cup to finally be back. 'Cause to me, it's like it's been gone for 8 years. Really, not really. It hasn't actually, but the U.S. hasn't been involved in 8 years.
Yeah,
This is
I,
needed.
I'm with you on that. I don't have the same level of excitement for it when the US isn't there. I still watched. I was still
Yeah.
interested. It was still fun, but yeah, if the US isn't there, it feels different. And I read an article today, and I thought it was kind of poignant the way they put it. Is the men's World Cup is the last place where like the United States is a true underdog
Mhm.
on like high level sports, right? Because pretty much everything else they're expected to win most often. So I think that is, but it was interesting the way that article read, and I believe in my heart of hearts we will win a World Cup in my lifetime. So let's see. I didn't know though till the other day the U.S. is the youngest team in the World Cup
Are they?
this
I
year.
knew they
Yeah.
had to be up there in terms of the
Yeah.
younger teams, but I didn't know they were the youngest.
Yeah, the youngest
That's
in terms of average age of rostered players on the
wow.
on World Cup rosters. So that was interesting as well.
Somebody call up Landon Donovan so we can fix that a little bit. Put some on the on the other side there, balance it
I'm
out.
gonna have one more late run in him down the right hand side for a late
Yeah,
goal
absolutely,
to
absolutely.
get him into the
He could
knockout
score a
round,
late
right?
goal against
Yeah,
Algeria for us again, right?
yeah.
I'm gonna break out my Team USA jersey. I've got a prior Team USA jersey. Do you hate the current ones as much as everybody else seems to?
I don't. I don't hate them. Yeah, it's hard. Like I think they change them too often.
Yeah.
It's getting to be like NBA jerseys, right? Like there's like a new one like every year. It feels like that they're going into whatever it is, whether it be a qualifying cycle
Mhm.
or CONCACAF Gold Cup or whatever it is. Like it feels like they're putting new ones on every time, and yeah, new ones. So but I don't hate them as much as everybody else does. It's funny. I had this is how long it's been since I owned one. I had one of the collared ones
Oh
back in the
yeah.
day. Yeah, in
Yep.
our high school
The white
jerseys.
one with the band across the
Yep.
middle?
Our
Yep.
high school ones were the exact same. My high school colors were red, white, and blue, and the blue was being phased in my senior year. And our high school soccer uniforms were an exact match to Team USA's uniforms.
Dude, I played in collared jerseys all the time. Even my keeper jerseys had collars on them and everything. That was the time.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
my
It's made a comeback. A couple teams
it
are
has.
rocking the collars again. I've seen.
All right, I guess we should probably talk basketball here.
Sure.
Otherwise, people will get
Yeah.
upset that this is the NBA World Cup or the front office World Cup show or whatever you want to call
There
it.
it is.
So let's get into this. I guess first and foremost, let's talk about somebody that the teams are not interested in. The Mavs are not interested in trading for Ben Simmons. Are the Nets inclined to move Ben Simmons right now? And if so, like I can't imagine they would be selling high on him at this moment.
Yeah, I mean, to that last part of what you said, this is going to be the absolute bottom of
Yeah.
his value because even when Philadelphia traded him, there was a sense of unknown, right? Is he still Ben Simmons? Is he going to get back to being what he is? Now we've seen he just doesn't look very good. So I'm not going to write Ben Simmons off. I think he could get back to what he was. But I think the challenge for the Mavs is, excuse me, for the Nets rather, is he's just not looked very good. He hasn't been able to stay on the court. I know he's coming back tonight for the game against the Kings. He will be in the lineup. But yeah, now are they looking to trade him? That seems a little bit more mixed depending on who you talk to. Some people will say, yeah, they're interested in moving him because they see his salary as a big enough number to maybe get them a player or two to round out their depth a little bit. But then Others are like, maybe if they could, they would, but they're not going to attach anything to him to do a deal or anything like that. So it's probably more likely that nothing happens here. And then the Mavs part of it, Mark Stein was all over this, as he usually is with Mavs news, because they were mentioned as a potential suitor for Simmons. And he was basically, his response was, they're not interested.
It doesn't make sense, really. I mean, for the same reason why when I hear, people will mention Russell Westbrook to the Mavs, or just teams that people are throwing out hypothetical landing spots for various players. If you can't shoot, you shouldn't be on the Mavs because you need shooters around Luka. That team is so Luka centric. Everything revolves around him. You have to have shooters around him in order for him to be at his best. So he's just not a fit there. And then looking at his contract, $35.4 million this season, $37.9 million next season, $40.3 million the season after that. I mean, I just don't see teams being interested in paying him that based on what he's doing right now. And then you're getting into, okay, what do the Nets have to add to Ben Simmons to move? It just doesn't seem like it's worth it.
No, and they're not in a position to add anything. Anyway, they don't have any high-end young talent, and they can't trade picks because they traded all their picks to get James Harden. So they've got some tradable picks that they could do, but and I'm with you on the Luka stuff. Like, you want Luka surrounded by shooters. It doesn't make sense to put other guys there when Simmons is at his best with the ball in his hands, and when he's on the floor, Luka has the ball in his hands. So you want Luka creating everything for his guys as much as possible, because that's what he does. Whether he gets a good shot for himself or his teammates. I don't see there being any reasonable match there either.
All right. Do you boys like Mexico? Mexico City, legit expansion contender. Super Troopers, one of my very favorite movies. But Mexico City is a contender to get that. We talked about this the other day, and I think our general consensus was that Mexico City might get in the running here, but Seattle and Las Vegas are the heavy favorites. Now we're hearing this again. Could this really be a 3-city race for 2 spots?
I mean, maybe the other option is maybe it won't be 2, maybe it'll be 4, right? Maybe the NBA will say, hey, let's go to 34 teams. The NBA said like very openly when they were talking about putting a G League team in Mexico City, it was their opening to Latin America. They saw it as, this is how we start to get into Mexico, Central America, and then ultimately into South America. They saw that as, this is our push to get bigger in those countries. And it's, if it works, now we got to see, right? They're only playing their first, I'm going to call it real season this year, because last year, due to still pandemic related stuff, the Mexico City Capitans, or I guess Capitans de Ciudad de Mexico, I think is how you say that, is how they're really named. But they played a very limited schedule last year. This year, they're into the full schedule, fully part of the G League. So we'll see what that ultimately looks like with them. If they do really well and they draw really well and players seem happy there and they feel safe there and all those things, then I do think there is a chance Mexico City could be in the mix. It's a massive city, massive population. It would be a chance for the NBA to expand internationally somewhere other than Canada. So, I thought the phrasing in the article by Mark Spears, move over Seattle, move over Las Vegas, and that to me maybe is a step too far. It may be almost a bargaining chip too, of like, hey, all right, what do you think about $5 billion per team?
Right.
If you want to buy in, that could be where this goes.
I'm all on board with expansion. I think it makes sense. I think there's enough talent in the league to do it. I know Mark Cuban has expressed some concerns about, long term, even if we do get a little shot in the arm financially, or a big shot in the arm financially, long term, is it something that really makes sense if that's the way you're looking at this? So I understand you can make financial arguments either way, for or against expansion. But when you go to, you mentioned maybe 4 teams, that's where I start to wonder, is there that much talent? 2 teams, I think you can do. I think you might be pushing it if you try to go 4.
I completely agree. I think, unless you did it over I mean, this is half our audience probably wasn't even alive, but when they added the Magic, Timberwolves, Heat, and the original Hornets, they did it over a 2-year period. 2 of the teams came in, and then 2 teams joined the next year. Maybe you do it like that versus saying, "Hey, we're throwing 4 teams in all at once," because what was seen then was you had a couple. It was seen as the league got too diluted, and the bad teams were really, really bad.
Yeah.
And that's where that was seen. But I don't know. I think there's a chance here for the NBA to really kind of say, you know what, hey, we're because they're behind right now. Everybody else, every other professional league of the big 4 leagues has more teams than the NBA does, and this could be the NBA's opportunity to say, well, we're going to step forward where we're going to go to 32 teams, but instead of just that, we're going to 34 teams instead, or maybe that, we'll see the way that goes. And I think what's going to come of this too is major conference and schedule realignment, restructuring. I think all that stuff's going to be at play here. I think we're going to see a lot of different stuff. I think, obviously we're getting the in-season tournament is coming. I think you're going to see, a lot of different restructuring around a lot of the way the NBA schedule looks. Not so much the calendar. I think they learned from the bubble. People don't want NBA basketball in the summertime. They want it in the fall, winter, and spring. But I think the way the league schedule looks and conferences and all that stuff will change.
Yeah. Yep. Agreed about the seasonality of NBA basketball and everything. I'm breaking out all of my sweatshirts and all that because tis the season. It's that time of year, and I absolutely love it. So yes, absolutely basketball.
Here in Orlando, later this week, we're gonna be down in the 40s.
Oh,
which is and it's gonna go it's like in the mid 80s today, and in a couple days it's gonna be down in the 40s.
That's a huge swing.
Yeah, it's gonna be a shock to all of our systems. So you'll see me all bundled up. It'll be front office show winter edition.
All right. Well, we'll have to make sure we have plenty of cold takes for that show.
Nothing but
the Clippers are interested in trading for Myles Turner, according to our pal Eric Pincus. Is this just to make Lakers fans angry, Keith?
I mean, maybe. I wouldn't put it past
trolling the Lakers right now.
Yeah, I wouldn't put it past Steve Ballmer to tweet the Lakers. I wouldn't put it past Steve Ballmer to trade, greenlight a trade for Turner just to tweet the Lakers. That'd be pretty funny too. Imagine if they got like Turner and Hield and they didn't have to give up a pick at all. Like that'd be pretty funny.
You mean like when Portland just gave them Robert Covington and Norman Powell for nothing?
Exactly. Yeah. Or like when the Lakers got Paul Gasol for his then fat brother and nothing else. So, that was a good day. Might have benefited. Okay. But yeah, this one's a little weird to me. This seems maybe like, let's try to drive a bidding war, kind of, let's start putting stuff out there. Trade season's opening up here about a month away or so. Actually, a month from today is when trade season really kind of unofficially opens. To be clear on that, because I've had a couple people ask me, you can make trades right now.
Yeah.
It's just the vast majority of the players who were signed this past summer can't be traded till December 15th. So that's when we get to about 90% of the league is trade eligible on December 15th. You have a handful of guys, you got to wait till January 15th, and then a handful that did extensions and the like that are not trade eligible this season. But I just, what's the fit? Because you just signed Ivica Zubac to a really nice contract. You can't play those two guys together. I don't think either one of them would be thrilled with the idea of, hey, you come in and be the backup. So I'm not sure what you would have to give up that the fit necessarily makes a ton of sense for the Clippers, given the presence of Zubac on a really nice contract on the roster already.
I think, the concern, and this is what Pincus presented in his article for Bleacher Report, the concern from the Clippers, and I think this does make sense, is, hey, what if something happens to Ivica? Then what do we have?
Yeah, because they don't have anything behind them.
They have nothing. They're using Nicholas Batum as their backup center right now.
Yeah.
So I understand that, but I think this gets into kind of similar to when I think about my Lakers in terms of, yes, you probably want another ball handler that's not LeBron James, but what you want is a game manager. What you want is maybe a mid-level exception player, and what you want is maybe a taxpayer mid-level, something like that to fill the role. You're not spending the big bucks on it like the Lakers did. Same thing here with the Clippers. And I'm not saying Myles Turner equals Russell Westbrook. I'm just saying the job that you're trying to fill here is not hey, we want to commit 20 million per year, whatever it is that Myles Turner is going to get from here on out when he
Yep.
gets a new contract next summer. That job that you're trying to fill is not a 20 plus million job here. What you're trying to do is find a serviceable backup. So I think
Mhm.
you're probably overspending here on in terms of what you want. But then again, if anybody can overspend, it's Steve Ballmer. So
Sure.
so I
And
think
it's
that's
not just what you'd pay him too, right? Because it's what you'd have to pay in trade to get him.
correct.
And that becomes, a little bit of a challenge as well. And I think the Clippers are very clearly going to operate moving forward as a team that draft picks are not overly concerning to them, because I think they've kind of got the approach of, hey, we'll just spend our way out of any issues we maybe get into. The other thing, to your point, I completely agree, is this feels like, all right, Zubac backup center depth, definitely
Yeah.
of concern, but then go sign Hassan Whiteside, right? He was
Right.
pretty good for the Jazz last year. Like, I don't know why, just go do that on a minimum contract and you should be good the rest of the way. Like then you've got two centers, you've got your small ball options with Batum and Morris. You're fine. I don't see a need here to go, because this just seems like what are you going to give up to get him too? You're going to end up creating yourself a roster hole elsewhere,
You're
where
gonna have
now
to
all
give
of a
up
sudden some of that other depth, like,
a
yeah, it
wing,
just gets
probably.
messy. Yeah, exactly. I'm not sure that's the direction I want to go, given Kawhi and Paul George's health history. So yeah, I would just go sign Hassan Whiteside, move on that way, much easier.
Yeah, but much easier, much less risk in doing
Mhm.
something like that. And you wouldn't have to give up a pick, whereas Pinkett
Yeah,
is
I'm not
saying
saying
the
Hassan
pick would have to
Whiteside
go.
good as Myles Turner either, just to be clear,
No,
because he's not. Yeah.
but if your concern is we need somebody for 10 minutes a night during the regular season and maybe to fill in come playoff time
Yep.
if something catastrophic happens, I mean, like you're not super comfortable with Whiteside playing 30 plus minutes, but
Mhm.
for the regular season, if you're looking for a backup big to play maybe 10 minutes a night, I don't see the reason to go spend big on that.
No. Yeah, exactly.
All right. Jaren Jackson Jr. is back. Welcome
Hey.
back, Triple J. I think this is exciting. A good thing for the Grizzlies, and they've got a big matchup tonight with I believe the Pelicans
Hmm.
on deck. So this is going to be a fun contest, and they've needed him back, and he is a fantastic player. That yeah, he's a tremendous young talent. So I'm excited to see him back in action with the Grizzlies.
Yeah, big time. This is huge for their defense. Gives them a ton of defensive versatility. Allows them to, once he's fully ready to go, which will probably be a couple weeks, they'll probably ease him back in here. But once he's fully ready to go, then you're in kind of a spot where now you're in a position where you unlock some lineup versatility, because you can play him in different stuff. They found out Santi Aldama can stick in the rotation now.
Mhm.
He started the entire time Jackson was out this year, looked pretty good, did a lot of good things, really showed he can play alongside Steven Adams. So if he can do that, he can definitely play alongside Jackson. So now you've kind of got your three big rotation. You feel pretty good about that. You can move forward. You've got some other guys. Brandon Clark will be in that mix, obviously, with those guys as well. So it's really kind of a four big grouping there in Memphis, but looking pretty good. I'd been saying, and I said it here on this show too, is keep your head above water until you get him back, and you get him back. Unfortunately, what's the next one?
That's the next one. One step forward, one step back. Desmond Bane, sprained toe, now out two
Yeah,
to 3 weeks. That's a big blow. I mean, he's been putting
big time.
up like all-star caliber numbers. We're talking,
Yeah.
24 points per game. He's been fantastic,
Mhm.
and now they lose him for a little while. So that's got to be frustrating for Grizzlies fans.
Yeah, just so in case people haven't been paying attention, or they tune in for the John Morant highlights, these are Desmond Bane's numbers this year: 24.7 points, 4.9 rebounds, 4.8 assists. All are career highs. All are career highs by a good amount too. He's shooting 46.5% overall, 45.1% on threes, on 8.5 3-point attempts per game, and he's at 91.2% from the free throw line, which is a career best, on 4.8 free throw attempts per game. So, I mean, absolutely an all-star. I mean, maybe Darius Garland and Donovan Mitchell want to, have a fight with this one, but Morant and Bane may be the best backcourt in the NBA. I don't know. It's it's close, right? Those two, I think, are the one A with Chris Paul and Devin Booker, just because Chris Paul is clearly in the get me to the playoffs phase of his career now.
Yes.
But It's pretty good. And so yeah, this is a big loss for them. I mean, this is harder for them in a lot of ways to replace him than it is Jackson, because they don't have a ton of wings on
Yeah.
this team, and they don't have anybody else who's really a defensive wing besides Dylan Brooks. So replacing Bane's wing defense is going to be tough. You can kind of cobble together the shooting with John Conchar playing more. Could cobble together the playmaking by maybe playing Tyus Jones with John Morant and some extra minutes and things like that. But it's going to be that defense. That's going to be what they're going to be missing.
Absolutely. That's going to be a challenge for the Grizzlies. We'll see how they handle that tonight. Let's jump over to the Warriors. I was just thinking when you said they might be the best backcourt in the NBA, I was like, does Steph and Clay feel any kind of way about that? Like they were kind of the default best backcourt in the NBA for a while there, but that got me thinking Warriors and a move they made, sending James Wiseman down to the G League, and it sounds like he might be staying there for a little bit. Is this indicative of like a bigger issue? Like a player jumping down to the G League is not a big deal. A lot of times you see teams just yo-yo players back and forth just to get them some extra experience. But the added piece to this that he might stay there for a little while, that was a little bit surprising to me.
Yeah, to your point of sending players down too, we're seeing more and more teams, including your Lakers, use the G League as a Major League Baseball style rehab assignment, where it's, hey, go down there, get some run in, because NBA teams don't practice like I think people think they do. It's more of a in the day in between games. It's not really a practice. It's more of a come in, get your individual work in, get your treatment, watch some film, and get out of there. They really only practice if it's like, all right, we've got 2 days off or more in a row. But in the G League, they do practice. So the Lakers sent down, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, but I know it was at least Thomas Bryant, Dennis Schroeder, and Kendrick Nunn. Yeah, to get some reps in. Yeah.
Correct.
With the South Bay Lakers, and it doesn't mean anything. They're probably never going to play in a game down there, but it's get them down there, they practice, and they come back up. And
the Lakers already announced too that they would come right back.
Yeah,
they're just sending them down to practice and scrimmage. The team isn't practicing today, so this is a chance for guys who are coming off injury and guys who have kind of been MIA to go out there and try to figure some things out.
And then Wiseman, though, different situation here. It sounds like it's going to be go down there and really work on your game. Like we're not going to play anymore up here with the big club right now unless there's injuries. So Santa Cruz not that far away from the Bay Area, so they'll be able to go get him if they need him very easily if they have a need. Jordan Poole, I thought, put a really good thing on it. Jordan Poole had this experience with the Warriors where he said this isn't a punishment and don't even look at it as a demotion. It's a chance for you to go down there, get all the reps you need. They're going to feature you. They're going to play through you. Get yourself right. Try to figure this out. And obviously, it worked great for Jordan Poole because he came back and has been very good. But yeah, I'm going to make a prediction though. James Wiseman's not on the Warriors by the time we get the trade deadline. He's going to be the trade piece to go get them something.
I like it.
Yeah, they're going to need something to shore up their depth. And I think there's enough cracks in this foundation that are showing this year that we might have 1 or 2 more runs left in us. So let's go get something. So 12 plus million in salary matching. That's a nice piece of salary to go get yourself something.
Are you attaching anything to him? Like, are you going all in and putting in like Kuminga or Moses Moody?
I think that would
depend
on what you could get, but I'm more thinking like, and I'm not saying this is the guy, but like, what if the Pistons were like, we'd be interested in swapping Bogdanovich and, hey, you get another guy who can play in your rotation and you'll go there. Well, we'd even put Nerlens Noel in and maybe they, say, all right, Wiseman and Moody for Bogdanovich and Noel. And now you filled out your rotation a little bit. And that probably doesn't make a lot of sense both ways. Pistons have other young bigs, but I'm just throwing out a team that's, clearly rebuilding and at the bottom side. But I can't see it. I can't see another year of them basically saying like, all right, let's keep hoping for the best here. And it's probably best for Wiseman too. Go get a fresh start somewhere else, less pressure environment. Let's really develop. Because I think he can play. I think there's a ton of talent in there. I just think you clearly see when he's on the floor, his mind is going a mile a minute. And he's just not really playing. He's just thinking through everything he does. And any mistake he makes, he instantly looks over to the bench to see if there's a sub coming for him. So
Right.
he just needs to be, somewhere. Maybe this G League stint does it for him, but I don't think so. I think he's going to be traded because I think the Warriors are going to look at it and say, we have a chance to repeat as champs, or be in the mix for probably about 2 more seasons. Let's maximize that with a veteran bench instead of trying to continue to parlay this into, hey, we have our whole next iteration of guys, because I just don't know that Wiseman's going to be a part of it.
Certainly hasn't provided what the Warriors were hoping they were getting when they selected him number 2 overall. Value has gone down, but I think he still has enough value to where they can probably get something pretty decent for him, something that could be useful. Like you mentioned, Bogdanovich, something like that. Teams would take a gamble on him. So we'll see.
Yeah, he's not like the centerpiece of go get another all-star
correct
kind of trade anymore, but he could be the nice piece in go get a useful veteran to flesh out our depth a little bit.
Right. Jayshawn Tate out 2 to 3 weeks with ankle soreness. I mean, look, you're not going to mess around with any of this kind of stuff right now. If you're Houston, you're going to do whatever it is you need to do to get the player right. We talked about this a little bit yesterday that, you may see some injuries like this pop up where teams are like, you know what, you're only 99%. Well, let's sit out another couple of games. Like Houston would be in that category where there's no reason to rush anything with any of their guys returning from injury.
No, and clearly they're playing some other guys in the mix right now. Tate is signed there long term. So after he opted out, and then they gave him a nice contract this offseason. So you kind of know, like, hey, this is you're not playing for a contract. We don't need to figure out what we have in you. We know where we're at with this. So let's really get you right. And, let's see where this goes. But I mean, the weird thing is I kind of need him because he's kind of their best wing defender right now out there. And they play precious little defense. The second unit guys occasionally come in and do a nice job, like KJ Martin, Tari Eason come in, and they kind of fly around and make cause some havoc. But yeah, it's just very messy for the Rockets. So yeah, you can hold him out. The bummer is, I mean, he'll have missed a month by the time he's back now. Or over a month, because he's been out pushing a month right now already. So it's probably this is going to end up probably being about a 2-month injury. And sometimes you worry when this ankle soreness sticks around, like we talked about yesterday with Omer here at 7. If it doesn't go away, that generally means it's a sign of a bigger problem, and then often that turns into surgery.
Yeah, and that's something that obviously you want to avoid whenever you can. Let's jump over to the Minnesota Timberwolves, who right now, I'm just double checking their standings. They are sitting, technically they're tied with the Warriors, but they are just below the play-in line, sitting in 11th place in the Western Conference. The Warriors certainly not where they were hoping to be at this point in the season, and neither are the Wolves. The Wolves were, making their big Gobert trade. They were hoping to make a real run this year. So far haven't been able to do that. It's still early. They're 6-8 right now, but they're going to sign AJ Lawson to bring in a little bit of help there and see if he can bring them something. What are your thoughts on that? I mean, just a depth signing here for them, but I mean, bigger picture, what's going on with Minnesota?
Yeah, I'll answer the second part first. I mean, they're a mess. The things we worried about have all kind of come to fruition. Are they going to have enough spacing? Can Cat guard out on the perimeter because he's going to have to when he's guarding fives? Is that going to be okay? How is that going to look? What's going to happen there? And that's kind of the reality is it's been bad for them. Now, to Minnesota adding AJ Lawson on a 2-way contract, they had a 2-way opening. They've been sitting on it for a little while. Lawson was with them in training camp. He was initially signed to a 2-way, and then that was ended right before the start of the season for reasons that I don't know that were ever fully explained. He went and joined the College Park Skyhawks, who are the Hawks affiliate in the G League, and he's torn it up in the G League. In the 4 games he's played so far this year, 22.3 points per game, 6.5 rebounds, 1.3 steals. He's shooting 62% from the floor, 52% from 3. So it's obviously very small sample size. But he played well in the G League last year also. Not quite that well, but played well. He's a wing with some size, 6 foot.
Another 4A guy.
Yeah, exactly.
Is that really what we're talking about here?
Yeah, probably. That may even be a little bit much. Like, I don't know that he's quite that dominant in the G League. This is not a guy who's going to go down there and you're like, all right, well, those 2 games were fun. Get you out of here because it's too much. But
Right.
yeah, I think he's pretty good. He's deserving of this shot, and gets him another wing that can do some stuff. He was known in college to be a decent defender, so and that team could use another wing defender. But yeah, it's just kind of a mess right now, roster construction wise, and you got to be very, very cautious if you're Minnesota, because you can't chase good money after bad by making another deal to try to fix the deal you already made, because then that's when you get yourself into real trouble.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, let's talk a little bit about Taiwan. Round things out for today. I did not expect that. Here we are, the second time in what it's been. I don't recall. Was it yesterday?
Third time. Yeah, second time in 2 days and third time in like a week.
that Taiwan has come up, and here we are. Now they're interested in Isaiah Thomas and his freedom after already being interested in Carmelo Anthony and landing Dwight Howard.
Yeah,
what is happening?
So I asked around. I made a couple calls to some agents, and I was like, "What is the deal here? What's happening?" And the answer I got back was, they're offering really good money for what it is, and it's not China. And that's not a dig at China by any means. It's just, one, if you're going to sign in the CBA, the Chinese Basketball Association, they have very, very few NBA outs there. It's generally you're signed. Now, the good thing is their season ends in March. So usually those contracts are for 1 year, and then those guys are freed up, and then they can come back and play in the NBA if they want to after that. But in this case, with these guys, with Taiwan, what they're really looking at is, they're paying pretty good money. Presumably Howard's the only one who's actually signed so far, but he can get out whenever he wants if an NBA team comes calling. And you're going to play and do your thing. And it's a place I know the people that I know who've traveled through there very much enjoyed their time there and things like that. So it seems to be kind of for now, it's turning into the kind of alternative in Asia to playing in China, just because of a little bit more restrictive nature of playing in China versus playing in Taiwan. So very, very, very interesting to see where this all goes. And a couple guys can get extra jobs. I kind of sort of doubt Ennis Freedom's gonna jump on this opportunity. We'll leave his current recent politics stuff aside with this, but he is still, it's very dangerous for him to travel outside of the United States because of his unfortunate relationship with his native country of Turkey. So that is I know he's a US citizen now, but with Turkey there's some challenges there, and they would obviously love to get their hands on him and try him for crimes that they've deemed he's committed, as far as we understand it. So so I kind of doubt we're going to see him turn up there, but maybe Isaiah Thomas goes over there, maybe Carmelo Anthony, maybe me and you are doing 6, 7 a.m. shows in the morning recapping the Taiwanese basketball league's results from the night before pretty soon.
Oh, I hope not. I hope not. Nothing against the Taiwanese basketball league. More power to you. Hopefully the guys go over there and they have a great time and they make some money, and maybe they catch the eye of some NBA clubs and everything. But I would prefer to not be covering 6 a.m. foreign basketball games.
Agreed. Yeah, if I'm up over the next month to kind of bring it all the way back,
it's going to be to watch World Cup.
It's going to be to watch the World Cup
at
that time in the morning. Yes, absolutely.
100%. All right. I think that wraps things up for today. Appreciate everybody for joining us. Make sure you are subscribing on the YouTube channel as well as the podcast feed. Heck, you know what? If you're a YouTube viewer, go click subscribe over on Apple. Just go in your phone, click subscribe to Apple Podcasts. It's a good way to help out the show. Leave us that 5-star rating and review. Again, we don't want to be the best kept secret out there anymore. Help us get the word out and help us out with our subscriber rating. Appreciate that. Till next time, everybody. See ya and stay safe.